but there will be no inheritance. The only thing I will leave you with is with lots of money. I mean, not money, it's not.
Welcome to Eminence Unfiltered Part 5. Today we have Ken Shitamoto with us. Ken leads the IT quality engineering function at Gilead Sciences, which performs software quality assurance testing, validation, and infrastructure qualification. He is a member of FDA Industry CSA team and a co-author of Appendix Bridging GAMP and CSA in GAMP Good Practice Guide on Data Integrity by Design. He has been in the biopharmaceutical space since 1993 and has worked on the manufacturer GXP, vendor GCP, and consulting sides of the business. He is an avid supporter of American Lung Association and WeHope.org homeless services. So let's welcome Ken today. How are you doing, Ken?
I'm doing very well. Bit tired, but well.
Yeah, all right. Yes, because you just flew in last night.
Yep.
And how was your flight, by the way?
It was good overall.
So I will let you go early so that you can retire to your bedroom and sleep because you really need it. So Ken, the idea behind this podcast is because we have listeners who want to know about the leaders. They want to know their lifestyle. It's more inspirational for them to know that how did the leaders make it there. So this is the purpose of the podcast. So we really want to know who is Ken outside work.
Okay, awesome.
So share something about you.
So outside of work, the reality is, well, at this point, I like to give back. Okay. So I do like to get myself involved with charities such as the American Lung Association. I am a, obstacle course runner. I think so, running races, more as a team building exercise. So take everyone with. And do challenges, and I just like to stay fit and healthy because I want to live a long and healthy life.
No wonder. That means, this is the reason that every time we meet you, we always get inspired. Do you know that Suryanj has started losing weight only with the thought that, okay, yes, my role model is Ken now. He's nowhere close to it. He's still working on it. But thank you for inspiring us every day with your health information that you put on your LinkedIn as well. I've seen several YouTube videos also where you have run marathon. I guess your daughter was with you in one of the runs.
Yes.
Right? Okay. Yes. So it's inspiring overall because even the family is following the same legacy.
Yeah. No. We do everything together, and she's pretty much my partner that way.
Wow. Okay.
It's around shaving his beard isn't the equivalent to losing weight, though.
We've been telling him from a while. So he's thinking that if I look at my face, how big it is, then it will be easy for me to lose weight. I don't understand that analogy, but okay. I will let him be.
It's kind of like validation. They want objective evidence, maybe too much.
That's extreme. I agree though.
Yeah.
Tell us more about this association because, you do a lot of charitable work. About this lung association, so what exactly is it?
So it is basically one of the older charity organizations in the U.S., and it really is about lung health.
Okay.
In general, focusing on both environmental, supporting research and other aspects.
Okay.
So my involvement was just because my friend died of lung cancer many years ago.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And so when he was in it, diagnosed, and he was towards the end, was with him and was involved with him with the charity and trying to make a difference. And you can once you throw your mind into anything.
So I agree. That is so important. And in fact, it is so important to give it back to the society, isn't it? Whatever you are doing, whatever you're earning. And if you do not keep a part of it, you will never be able to stay humble, is what I think. And thank you very much for sharing this with us. And what about the runs? Means you said that means with your daughter, you go for several runs, means you've been running marathons. So how about that? Means how do you keep up your schedule while your work schedule is so tight, but at the same time you manage this part of the life as well?
Yeah.
So what's the secret?
So one thing, they're obstacle course races. So they're more about, you climb ropes, you jump over walls, so like 8-foot walls, those sort of things, monkey bars. But in general, if you look at that, you just have to make time.
Right.
I think that is the bottom line. You make time. I do with people at work.
Uh-huh.
I get them involved both within my department and outside of my department.
All right.
And then former coworkers still come, and so we do them just because if you don't make time, you'll never have the time. And it's the same thing with the charities. You take the time. You can make the time. There's enough time that we waste looking at our phones all day.
I totally agree. Yes, that is part of the procrastination we should not be doing at all.
I think ultimately you just have to make time. You just have to carve it out. If you look at the amount of time we waste looking at our phone, looking at things, social media in general,
Right.
which is just watching someone else live their life instead of you living your life. So you can carve out the time. And then here I do it with people at work.
Right.
So people in my department, people in other departments, and then people who have left the company. So we still make that time, and that creates a bond in the network, which ultimately is good for you as well.
Right, right. So means kind of the aura of the whole place is going to be that everyone is looking at a scheduled time for fitness as well. And in the end of the day, fit employees, better productivity. Everything is connected. So, again, means still, how is your schedule, like your routine? Means what time do you wake up and go off to sleep? Do you have a fixed schedule or it keeps on changing? So what about that?
Interesting question. I don't think I sleep very consistently at any particular point in time. I do try to go down. I think I just listen to my body.
Okay.
So my body tells me it's time to sleep, I will sleep.
Okay.
I generally try not to use an alarm. I like to wake up when I wake up.
You do?
So, yeah.
Okay.
Not surprised. Unless I'm doing some, podcast in the middle of the night somewhere from the U.S. with India. Yes. Then I'll need an alarm. But in general, I try not to.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Because if I do not set an alarm, I don't think if I'll ever wake up, I'll be dead to the world. So that's why I was not alarmed because of the reason that what happened right now. So means I'm talking about, it's so impossible for me to wake up without an alarm. I don't think how long I can sleep without the alarm.
Oh, but you get to the point where, so there's certain triggers. You can use sunlight. So you sleep with the curtains open, when the light comes in, you'll wake up.
Uh-huh.
So generally, I do have backup alarms, but
Okay.
I generally wake up before the alarms.
All right.
And then I'll make an assessment whether it's time or not to get up.
All right. Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that means, you and your daughter means, you share a bond like a partner, doing everything together, runs and charitable work as well. Tell us more about that if you're comfortable.
Yeah, no. So with my daughter, she's. So I kind of treated her always when she was little like a little adult.
Okay.
So for example, I generally did not check her grades.
Okay.
I just explained to her that she needed to do well.
Uh-huh.
That she owned it. If she liked this lifestyle, then she would need to do, well, either do well in school, do well in stock market, do well investing in stock, do well in real estate. But, if you like the lifestyle, you have to be successful at something.
Wow. All right. I wish my parents were that easy on me.
No, but her grades are better than mine.
No, but if I have to say honestly, my family, it's a usual scenario that all the women are doctors.
Okay.
And it's very hard to choose a profession which is different than being doctor. So it was always so much of a pressure, but I did what I wanted to. But then it's always so important that parents are very encouraging.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for sharing this as well. And I hope all the parents are also listening.
Awesome.
All right. So little out of the box means little out of the sequence of the questions that we have. We really wanted to understand your perspective on CSA. Why am I asking this? Because there always has been a long debate on CSA, CSV, one and the same thing. CSV is different than CSA, no need of CSA, or CSA is the thing and CSV is nothing. So what exactly you think? That means, what exactly are your thoughts on it?
Ultimately, God, at some levels, I'm disappointed with industry because they've always had the avenue to move forward.
Right.
So if you really look at CSA, CSV, it's the same thing.
Okay.
Or CSA is what CSV should have been.
Right.
and the application of critical thinking. So if you really look at it, we're the only sector, I think I mentioned it earlier today, we're the only sector where you could take a person, a practitioner, move them forward 30 years and they can still do their job.
Right.
And they would still be successful because we're that backwards. We haven't evolved at all.
Right.
So I think the key thing that people are missing is that it's about software testing.
Right.
So, and there's a whole discipline about software engineering, and then the subdivision, which is in quality assurance and testing, that people are ignoring out of fear or lack of understanding, or they're actually kind of lazy to some degree, in the sense that they're so used to being spoon-fed. They want a guidance document, and they will only do what the guidance document will say, but that will never be the optimal solution for them.
Right.
And
Right.
ultimately they'll fail. They look at GAMP to tell them exactly what to do instead of thinking about it. So I think my biggest thing is in CSA is, one, go back to the principles and practices that define it, which are software engineering.
Correct.
And then two is then taking the time to understand, customizing, and implementing it.
Correct.
It's like making a program for yourself, for your organization. There's no difference in working out. You can't just take a generic program. You have to customize it for yourself.
Right.
You get a personal trainer, you hire a consulting group that helps you develop for yourself. So that it's the same thing that needs to happen in the CSA space. They need to understand that, one, they have to have the drive to move there. Two, they need to understand the principles and practices that define it,
Right.
most of which do not. And then if necessary, hire an organization to help. Just like fitness, some people can do it themselves, and then other people need help.
Motivation.
And then I think coming to like events that you host gets people the opportunity to hear, to listen, and to exchange knowledge.
Right.
So
Thank you.
I think it's very good there.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And you gave several reasons. That means it could be out of fear. It could be several reasons. Do you think there is a possibility that change of perspective or change of mindset could also be one of the reasons that they are just so comfortable with the existing environment that we do not want to evolve?
Yes.
Think.
No. So there's that whole confirmation bias. So some people are only listening to what they want to hear. So no matter how many times you explain to them that it's compliant, and so definitely there is that. There is a culture change where people just don't want to change, won't take in new input.
Right.
But then the flip side, there are the people who are progressive. There are lots of companies that are moving forward, lots of orgs. My company is one that's moving forward.
Right.
There are others. So Abbott had moved forward as another. And the compliance group has a whole list of people that they've helped move forward.
All right.
So,
All right.
yeah.
Yes. There are companies who are really moving towards CSA with open thought process, open mind as well. Like Missile Life Sciences is one of the examples I think we have really who are implementing it in the right direction. So Ken, coming back to our previous conversation where we were talking about your life, did you always know that you will be in Gilead Sciences and you will be leading CSA, or you will be in IT?
I think it happened to me.
This is a very common answer, and all the best leaders I have interviewed, they have always said the same thing. Thank you for being honest. Yes, so tell me about that.
Well, okay. So landing at Gilead is a bit complicated because I'm just getting divorced.
Okay.
And I needed a full-time job.
All right.
So, which did not involve travel.
Okay.
So for really to have custody of my daughter, so 50%. So in that sense, so then to the other point is I prioritize family over all things, over money, over life, or everything. And so then I joined Gilead. And then once at Gilead, then it just became looking at the opportunities and then deciding how to make a difference.
Right.
I think, ultimately, in my org, there are two things I look at. One is that things that are externally facing. So when you interact with people, making that your customers need to get the top experience.
Right.
So that customer experience is key. And then the second thing is everything has to have a return on investment.
All right.
So you have to measure it. You have to be able to say at the end of the day, we did this and it added value. So you keep those two things in mind. You usually are able to make a difference with the understanding that you have to execute.
Right.
It doesn't matter how many ideas you have if you never do them, or if you do something that has no return on investment, or if you do something that the customer doesn't really see.
Right.
Right? Those things you don't get credit for. You may need to do them as infrastructure, but you can't say that, hey, I achieved something if your customer never saw it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Can I say, listening to this part, balanced life could be one of the secrets to be a successful leader?
So definitely I would agree with that statement. I think if you don't prioritize yourself or your family, that you will fail ultimately. Or you may get success and success will be a failure.
That's such a beautiful line.
So you just see so many people who, at end of life, it's not about your career or your money. And then long ago, so with my daughter, why my daughter would do everything together, one of the things I told her is like, there will be no inheritance. The only thing I will leave you with is with lots of money. I mean, not money, isn't not that. Sorry. So there will be no inheritance. I will lots of memories.
Right.
So that is our intent. We take trips. We will take very, very short trips at time, with the intent of building memories instead of money.
Right.
So
Right. So already putting them in the direction where they know the value of things rather than the cost of things is by making memories.
yeah.
So this is such a beautiful advice. And now I also want to know, that means apart from being a person who has a balanced life, what else do you think are very important parts to be a very good leader?
You have to care. But I think about being a leader, I think one of the key things is transparency.
Right.
So people have to understand and feel like they've been treated fairly.
Right.
It may not be, they may not get what they want, but at least they know the reasons why.
Right.
And I think that one of the hallmarks of a leader is, it's very easy to be nice. Like everyone can give out like extra stock, extra money and say like, hey, you did well. Very few people can actually be the disciplinarian and say like, no, you didn't do as well as you could have. And to be able to say that and be able to have it resonate and change behavior. So I think that's where, and at the extreme end, it's letting people go.
Right.
Right. Because if someone's not going to be successful in my organization, then I am stealing time from them.
Right.
I should help them leave so they can go to the organization where they will be successful.
Right. It's where the heart sits in the end of the day. If it is not something they like, they might not do it in the right way.
Yeah.
And yes, I agree with you. Your team is very lucky to have you, Ken. This is what I can say sitting here in India.
I don't always agree with that saying.
I'm sure that your team would agree on this, because we all want to look up to the leaders. See, in the end of the day, when we work as employees and we all go up from junior designations, so we look at the bosses who are treating us in the right way. We don't call them bosses anymore. We call them leaders. So that difference can only happen when you have your own life in right order.
Yeah.
At the same time, you care and you are compassionate about your team. You treat them like human and you respect and honor the fact sometimes you have to let them go and it is okay.
Yeah.
Right? So all of this is really something that means, we should be expecting as a role model. Thank you very much for that. And for being our leaders, one last question that I have for you, which is very important. Yes, all these traits are important, but what not to do and what to do to be a good leader when you are stepping into the leadership role? What are the things that you're not supposed to do and what are the things you're supposed to do, if you can tell our listeners?
Okay. What are you not supposed to do, what you're supposed to do? Interesting. I think what people do when they step in, for example, is they generally don't, the ones who fail, they don't listen. Right? If you ultimately look at that, they don't listen and they have their preconceived notions.
Right.
And they will fail because of that, because they if you feel that your boss doesn't listen to you or hasn't taken anything into consideration, you won't get there. If you don't listen, you actually don't know what is urgent and what is important. I recently took on a larger role. at Gilead, and I have in my mind a set of priorities. I have 1, 2, and 3. The question that I have is, where do they sit within the larger priorities that will make the org very successful? So for me, it was about really listening to everyone and taking the time to understand. But then also, as a leader, to the point about being tough, I really am scrutinizing what everyone is working on, such that, is there a value? Where are the synergies? What is being said? What is being done? What is not being done? And so mentally keeping track of those.
Right.
And then understanding that how do you weave them into positive opportunities?
Right.
So someone is being underutilized, you need to frame it in a way so like, hey, what about, Jane? We should give Jane an opportunity to move up and here, looking for those synergies.
Right.
So,
right.
I mean, on the flip side, when I took over the org, I gave away headcount.
Right.
I said, like, okay, this person will be better in this org. Not in my organization. One of these 2 other organizations, they would be better.
Right.
And most recently, took another one and got rid of. And said, open. So not the person, but, so being able to give back when necessary, take when you need, but when you have excess capacity where someone is better suited, not trying to create a false organization, but an organization that is aligned fully such that we can deliver on the core mission. And we don't have these spurious and extra things. So again, it's ruthlessly prioritizing what you need to do. And I think the last thing, probably a very verbose answer, I read a book, essentially 4,000 weeks, that the average person only lives 4,000 weeks.
Okay.
And it's not about trying to squeeze in more, but it's actually prioritizing what you do.
Okay.
So if you take that in everything that you do, from raising, children to prioritizing your career, not trying to take on the world, but being excellent at what you do put in, and then making sure that you keep those barriers and stay on your track.
Wow. Beautiful. Which book is that?
It's called 4,000 Weeks.
4,000 weeks.
Yeah.
All right. I would certainly pay heed to it.
It's very different because it's not about time management where the concept is you stuff as much as you can. It's just saying this is your capacity and you cannot stuff more things in, so prioritize.
Right. Because it just started, I just started thinking how many weeks I have already spent.
Yeah, it's very sad. When most people you ask that, the authors did point out the fact when you ask like how many weeks do you live on average, people drastically overestimate the number of weeks that they get, and they underestimate the number of weeks that have passed.
Right. Okay. And it's also about, these are the weeks. So what are you doing about it? Are you really spending it? Or are you living it? There's a difference.
Yeah.
Right? At your point, what you mentioned about being a good listener, I really love that part. That is so important, because in the end of the day, you're hiring people with different set of eyes. And if you do not let them see with those eyes and you want them to see with your eyes only, then there's no point of hiring different minds. Yeah. So such a beautiful line, and it's such a great piece of advice by Ken. And I hope you all enjoyed this interview, this podcast, and tell us your views in the comment section. And if you have any other questions, please let us know. See you again soon. Thank you.